seen at that time. I think this was around the second or third edition, if my memory serves me correct. We're going to get event started. Our speakers have been in the room waiting. As I like to say, we're supposed to start at 9, we're a little behind schedule. And if you were here before 9, my apologies. All right. Thank you very much. I felt for a moment there that I was in minus 40 degree of Canadian weather. I needed to address that matter. The room felt a bit too cold for me for a second signal. I think I'm better now. I'm sure when there are more people in the room, it will be a lot more warm. I've been sitting in here since 7 or so a.m. So kind of got to me. Okay, so welcome back. Then I'm ready to start now. The minister is on his way to join us. I just been reminded that the event I was referring to, which is of course the LNG 2026 in Qatar, was organized by the same company organizing this event now. So we need to do better with our time management. The CCE, by the way, was one of those who came here before 9, so that's. I thought I was getting a round of applause. I thought I was getting a round of applause. Listen, make your appreciate conference as a great thing, yeah? Okay. So as I said, it's going to be a brief opening. The panel will follow. In this opening, we're going to take remarks from the chairman of the Congressional Committee and the chairman of Brighton. We'll then go into our host country addresses from the upstream regulator and our national oil company, GCEO. We'll then take remarks from the local content regulator and then the upstream regulator. The ministers will take center stage, and after that will be the opening part of this event. We'll then jump immediately into the panel session. Our first panel session that will open with Celebrating the decade of energy, oil and gas innovation in Sub-Saharan Africa is the theme of the 10th edition of SAIPEC. When you start a business and they say it runs for 5 years, then that business does have a hope or some kind of stability in the first 5 years. But when it gets to 10 years, we're beginning to build a system that is working, an institution that should be able to run the test of time. So 10 years in and counting, SAIPEC has continued to create a platform that helps us as Africans to find better ways to collaborate and solutions to the many challenges that we face, especially in the servicing sector of our industry. Yes, without the upstream, without the production, the service companies do nothing. So this is a melting pot of salt for those who produce and those who provide the services that enable them to produce, and then the regulators who enable the business of production and service to work smoothly from across the continent. As I said earlier, this is the first time that we're having a huge delegation from across the globe. Just a quick run through on that list. I'm told that attending this year, we have people coming from as far away from here as Albania, Angola. Angola, of course, is not verified within the continent. Cameroon. We also have from outside the continent, from Canada, from China, from Colombia, back to Africa and Congo. Egypt is represented, so is France, so is Gabon, so is the Gambia, Germany, Ghana, Ireland, Cote d'Ivoire, Haiti, Kenya, Lesotho, Liberia, Mauritania, Morocco, Mozambique, Namibia, Myanmar, Netherlands, Nepal, Nicaragua, Niger, Qatar, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Senegal, Seychelles, Spain, Sierra Leone, South Africa, Turkey, Thailand, Tobago, Uganda, Ukraine, UAE, UK, Tanzania, the US of A, of course. Okay, so this is just general from around the world, but let me zero in on the African continent as represented. Let me zero in from the African continent as represented. We'll have a distinguished delegation from Sierra Leone, of course. DG Petroleum Directorate is leading that delegation. My friend, Mr. Mansari, very good morning to you. I'm sure you're here somewhere, still in the speaker room. Warm welcome. Our delegation from Sierra Leone, are they in the room now? They're in the room. If you're in the room, please be bold. There you are. I didn't know you were there. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you for joining us. Welcome from Sierra Leone. From Uganda, we'll have a delegation, a distinguished delegation from Uganda as well. A warm welcome to all of you. We have from the Petroleum Authority, is also being represented here as one of the regulators here. Linda is from that Nalubanga, is from the Ugandan Petroleum Authority. Are the Ugandans in the room already? Can I get a wave for Uganda? Please give the Ugandans a round of applause. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. Okay. We also have the private sector from Uganda represented as well as the national oil company, UNOC and all. They're all here. From the Gambia, we have the Gambians, distinguished delegation from the Gambia. They here. I haven't seen Kani. Congratulations to Kani, by the way, you know. But the Gambians are here. Please give them a round of applause. The president of the cousin Abuja last week, such a gentleman. So we had a great time with him in Abuja last week. So thank you for joining us at SAIPEC this week. Thank you. From Niger, we have the delegation led by Dr. Amadou Hassani. Are the Nigerians here? Bienvenue. Welcome to all of you. Thank you very much. Our Ghanaian brothers are here as well. They've not come for a jollof war, they've come for technical business. Are the Ghanaians here? Please a round of applause to our Ghanaian brothers. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be rooting for you. At the World Cup. Should we not get there? Well, if we get there, No, there's hope. We can still get there. There's hope, don't worry. We are hopeful. I know the Congolese will not want to hear me say that. All right, Namibian delegation, are the Namibians here this morning? Please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us. from Namibia. The ambassador will be here and will be speaking to us at some point in this opening ceremony as well. By the way, Namibia is one of those countries, in my opinion, that God is using to tell us as Africans, continue to explore what I have given you, because the more they tell us to shift away from this resource, the more God is endowing us and allowing us to discover the endowment through these discoveries. And Namibia is one of such examples. In my opinion, we should keep going. Yes, Namibians, welcome. Our friends, distinguished delegation from Liberia, led by Fabian Lai. Are the Liberians here? They're not here. They're here. Please surround yourself by our Liberian delegation. From Cote d'Ivoire, we welcome you, Jean-Michel Akose and Karen Kolibale, and indeed the entire delegation. One welcome, please give them a round of applause. Bienvenue. Our Senegalese delegation, our Gabonese delegation first off, our Gabonese delegation. A warm welcome to the Sub delegation. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. The Gabonese led by Guy Kasakumba. The Senegalese, Ibrahim Atala. Ibrahima, the Senegalese here. Let's give him a round of applause. Ibrahima is one of those Africans who has been pushing this collaboration among service companies and indeed to deepen local content across the continent. From Mauritania, Mohamed Nani Chebani. The Mauritanians here, good morning to you. I'm sure they're going to join us. They were all with us yesterday evening at the welcome dinner for them. The Angolans, I saw Manuel yesterday. Bon dia, Manuel. Good morning, give him a round of applause. Welcome. And of course, our distinguished delegation from Kenya. I'm sure they're here. I saw Engineer Rogo yesterday. But please give them a round of applause. They're here as well. Welcome to all of our African brothers and sisters from, I know from Morocco. We have a delegation from Morocco as well. The Moroccans in the room this morning? Yes, there we go. We have the Moroccans there. I think they're from Morocco. Warm welcome to you. From Egypt as well. We have an Egyptian delegation. Are they in the room yet? Perhaps they will join us. Warm welcome to all of you. So, this is the platform created by Pattern, an industry event by the industry, where regulators, operators, service companies come together and brainstorm on the way forward for our beautiful and great continent. We're now being joined by the distinguished Senator Heineken Yokobri, PhD, the Honorable Minister of Human Resources. All right, welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. Well, while we're still standing, we'll just take the national anthem to open the event. Technical, first stanza only, national anthem. God bless the Republic of Nigeria. We may be seated. Thank you very much. God bless the continent of Africa. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this 10th edition of SAIPEC. Let me continue by establishing a bit of protocol this morning, again acknowledging the presence of the Honorable Minister of State Human Resources, or the distinguished Senator Heineken Yokobri, PhD. Your Excellency, a warm welcome to. Please, a warm applause once again. We're also being joined this morning by the Commission Chief Executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. A warm welcome to Mrs. Eyesan Orisha-Meiwa. Good morning to you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. Engineer Felix Omashola Owe is the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, represented this morning by the Director of Corporate Services, Dr. Abdul Malik Khalilu. Good morning to you, sir. We'll be joined virtually by the Group Chief Executive of the National Oil Company, Engineer Bashibayo Jewelry. We'd also like to acknowledge this morning the DG of the Petroleum Directorate of Sierra Leone, Mr. Fode Mansari, a very good morning to you. The DG of the Petroleum Commission of the Gambia, Kani Joe, a very good morning to you. And of course, the acting Deputy CEO of Petroleum Commission of Ghana, Dr. Afar Nasir Mohammed, an Executive Director with Total. A warm welcome to you. We thank you. Please round of applause. So thank you for joining us this morning. Let me also acknowledge the man who's put this together, the chairman of PETAN. Please, a warm applause for Engineer Wale Abusa, FNSE. And the CEO of Group Let's Geotech. A very good morning to you, sir. And indeed, all PETAN member companies who are here this morning, we welcome all of you. Give our PETAN member CEOs a round of applause, please. One welcome to all of you. We're here in your numbers. We thank you for the work that you do for the Nigerian oil and gas industry, and by so putting Nigeria on a global stage. And again, a warm welcome to all of the CEOs from the producing companies who have joined us here, captains of the industry. We welcome all of you. I see the representative of the MD of Chevron as well. A warm welcome to you as well, sir, for joining us. Distinguished delegates, welcome to this 10th edition. Gentlemen of the press, we welcome you as well. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Now, 10 years ago, SAIPEC was conceived at a time when Africa's energy story was often told about the continent, but rarely by the continent itself. Decisions were made elsewhere, narratives were shaped elsewhere, and too often Africa was positioned as a resource-based, not a strategic force. And SAIPEC decided, PETAN through SAIPEC decided to change all of that. And for a decade, this platform has continued to insist on something that is quite simple, many consider radical, and that is that our continent must be present where energy decisions are debated, capital allocated, and the future negotiated. Today, the 10th edition, on this 10th day of February, on this 10th day of February, continues to remind us that that convention matters now more than ever. Because as we know in the world today, energy is no longer stable, always contested, whether it's in Venezuela, whether it's in Iran, fragmented, as we know, the diverse opinions, and capital remains impatient looking for where to go. Which brings me to the point this morning that we're not here just to mark a 10th birthday celebration for this event, but we must consider this a checkpoint, a moment when we ask ourselves some hard questions. Questions like, have we converted dialogue into development? Have policies translated into projects, and have resources delivered resilience for our economies and our people? And I'm hopeful that this next few days, these questions will be answered by experts, many of whom have been part of this event in this past decade or in the last few years, or are aware of what has been going on here, and will begin to ask ourselves those hard questions. My name is Richmond Osuji, and it's my honor, privilege, and pleasure to welcome you to this 10th edition. Please, can we give another round of applause to PETAN for holding this forth this last decade. And of course, we want to also say a huge congratulations to their partners in producing this event, GEP, who has worked with them this last 10 years to put this together. Please give GEP a round of applause as well. I have earlier given you a run through of what to expect in this brief opening part of the event, and then that will be followed by a panel session, which will be moderated by a man I should also mention here, a renowned industry captain himself, Mr. Austin Avuru, Chairman AA Holdings. A very good morning to you. I know you're here somewhere. A very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us this morning. And to our founding fathers of PETAN, I see Agadon Pedro in the room, and many of you are here as well. Lovely to see all of you come out to celebrate with your own. Please give our founding fathers and long-standing members a round of applause. Thank you all very much. Okay, let's get into the business of the agenda this morning by first off doing the welcome remarks. We're going to look at charting Africa's energy journey in this 10 years of SAIPEC. First off, with the conference chairman for PETAN. Welcome, Mr. Chubi Ibe, CEO of Sidon Energy.
Good morning. On behalf of PETAN, I want to stand on the existing protocol to welcome all of us to this year SAIPEC event for 2026. As you are aware, SAIPEC started as YPEC 10 years ago with just 148 delegates and 35 exhibitors. Today, we are counting over 1,400 delegates and 150 delegates. 158. So this is a great achievement on the part of Petan, and this achievement was not without the commitment of the leadership of Petan, heavily led by our chairman, Engineer Wole Olufisayan, and the past Petan executives, who have also worked hard to ensure that this event has grown to what it is today. We are also very much happy with the support we are getting from the government of the Federation and other stakeholders in the industry, the Eveafrique, the NCDND, NMPC, and other IOC and stakeholders in the industry. It has been a great journey, having gone this road to make this remarkable achievement and milestone for SAIPEC, which has grown from regional event to pan-African and global outlook that we have today. So, in the next 3 days, we are going to be discussing issues surrounding the African energy needs and challenges, from upstream to downstream to midstream. So, I want to enjoy all of us to sit back and listen to all the panelists and the discussions that will be going on. And for me, I want us to look at not just the discussions, but also how to put all these discussions into practical use for the good of our continent and also advance the technology that is abound in the oil and gas industry, for the good of Africa and for the development of Africa in general. So I want to enjoy all of you to sit back, relax, and enjoy all the discussions and the 3 days events that we are going to have within the next couple of days. Thank you for coming, and thank you for listening, and God bless you. And there is one welcome again from Petan. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO Poseidon Energy and the chairman of Petan's Conference Planning Committee, Mr. Chubi Ibe. I'd like to quickly acknowledge CEO, MD of Renaissance Africa Energy Company, represented by the Vice President. Technical at the company, Abdurrahman Mijiyawa. Warm welcome to you and thank you for joining us. And of course, I mentioned Director of Corporate Affairs earlier, Mr. Olusoga Chevron, representing the MD. Thank you as well for joining us. Now let's move on to our next address. It is still within the welcome remarks, and this time he's going to speak to us as chairman of the organizing association, the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria. Please welcome CEO Joe Plexi Limited, Engineer Wole Olufisayan, FNSE.
Minister of State, Oil, Senator Henneken Lukuburi, thank you for honoring us this morning. Your track record speaks for itself, the leadership that you have been providing to the industry. There is hardly any events that we are having, not just Petan, across the industry, that the minister is not there, to support us. Honorable Minister, thank you for your leadership. My sister, when announcement was made, there was a lot of jubilation in the industry. We have a seasoned, experienced oil and gas leader. Many of you, if you are not aware of it, she was a former EVP upstream for NNPC. You know the system, once you get to the 6th floor, when you're 60 years old, you retire. We gave her enough sabbatical. We have her back, Mrs. Orisha Muiwa. I want to make sure I pronounce it. Some of our people pronounce it as Muiwa, but it's an Ishekiri name. Orisha Muiwa Eyeson. Thank you very much. Just to let you know the kind of leadership that we're having at NUPRC today, the Chief Commission Executive of NUPRC, she was the #1 of VIPs that arrived here this morning. I was in a short meeting and they have to be calling me that she's here. That's how timekeeping she is. Thank you very much. The Executive Secretary, NCDMD, Engineer Omashola Ube, is duly represented here by my brother, Dr. Abdulmalik Halilu. Thank you very much for honoring us. It's very important that we all understand NCDMD and PETAN, we are symbiotic. We champion, you hear a lot of stories about PETAN. The Local Content Act, some of our leadership here, you know, in PETAN that started this organization over 31 years ago, fought tooth and nail to get us to where we are today. So NCDMD, thank you for your support. Everything we're doing in NCDMD is there, including outside Nigeria. If our NCDMD is championing local content at the regulatory level, at the African, at the government level across Africa, and I'm sure that we'll continue to have your support, and we want to guarantee you your intention to grow local content from 61% that we are today to 75%. PETAN will solidly do our own part and carry our weight, not just in Nigeria, across Africa, as you hear in my speech. The CEOs of the IPPG, the Independence Petroleum Group, the CEO of IOCs, thank you very much for coming to honor us. Industry leaders, investors and partners, members of PETAN, ladies and gentlemen. It's with great pride and a deep sense of responsibility that I welcome you to SAIPEC 2026 as we commemorate a true historic milestone, the 10th edition of SAIPEC, theme A Decade of Driving Africa Energy Future. On behalf of the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria, I extend my sincere appreciation to the organizers, partners, sponsors, all stakeholders who have sustained the platform over the past decade and transformed it into Africa's premier conference and exhibition. I especially want to thank our African brothers. Just yesterday, we had our first general session of African Local Content Association, which Nigeria essentially headquartered and registered with our CAC. I don't remember the last time, maybe for the first time, the number of African countries are here. Ladies and gentlemen, across the continent, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. The number of members are French people. 10 years ago, SAIPEC was conceived as more than a conference. It was envisioned as a movement, a platform to amplify African capabilities, encourage collaborations, redefine Africa's role in global energy space. Today, we can confidently say that SAIPEC has driven strategy, elevated indigenous participation and local content development, connected African service companies to global opportunities. I can confirm to you today, we have PETAN member companies working as far as India. We have a bunch of our members in Saudi, Kuwait, of course across Africa, and all of that is originating from what we have done 30 years ago as a PETAN group, and what we did at the government level in 2010 to pass the Logic Act that essentially enabled us to be where we are today. SAIPEC has shaped conversation that influence real projects and outcomes. Petroleum, SAIPEC, even across Africa. We were in Namibia in August, and while we were in Namibia, we were able to have dialogue and engagement that the Namibian government is taking, to model their own local content policies. Africa's energy reality and responsibility. As we look forward, we must acknowledge the fundamental truth. Africa's energy future must be defined by Africans, for Africans. While the global energy transition continues to evolve, Africa's immediate challenge remains energy access, affordability, and reliability. Over 600 million Africans still lack access to electricity and industrial growth, and is constrained by energy deficits. Today, if you take the statistics, Africa on average consumes 25% energy per capita compared to the developed world in Europe and of course in North America. And if you also dig a little bit deeper, you realize that the countries that consume less energy have a lower life expectancy. Because without energy, we all know the implication of that to storage of your food, to your opportunity to industrialize, and of course, to power even your medical institutions to be able to, ensure you can extend that life expectancy. So these are very serious gap issues that we're addressing, not just at Petan and the continent level, that we must continue to do what we have to do to increase access to energy, and those of us in oil and gas, we leave that background of desire responsibility to the continent and to Africans that we continue to do this. Indigenous capacity from participation to leadership. One of the most profound achievements of the past decade has been the rise of indigenous capacity across Africa energy value chain. In Nigeria, the impact of local content policies and deliberate capacity development is evident. Indigenous companies now are leading drilling and well services, engineering, fabrication and construction, asset acquisition and field development, technology development and innovation, midstream capacity and gas infrastructural development. Downstream capacity, we were at the engagement yesterday, and there is a lot of concern that we are focusing on upstream. And what are we doing in midstream and downstream? All of these space are being developed, and we have better member companies across all the value chain of the industry, be it upstream, midstream, and downstream. Just last year, one of our members did the foundation laying of compressed natural gas in Ugeli. So these are some of the things members are going to make sure that we develop capacity across the industry. Investment, technology, and collaboration. The next decade must be defined by investment and execution. I have the engagement with the CCE. We need good regulatory environment, and we need the funding. We're not going to pretend that we can do this all by ourselves, and we have to thank the minister again for championing the APO. All of us know what APO is, the African Petroleum Producers Organization. This is a government-level organization across Africa for championing the creation of APO. Not only that, he ensured that the headquarters of APO is Abuja, and just last week, the Energy Bank was launched. So this is going to help to a greater extent in that requirement of funding, whereby we're able to get African funds to develop Africa. I'm sure the minister will explain it to you. Afrexim Bank is solidly an investor within the African Energy Bank. So we need, of course, investment and technology. I said earlier we need regulatory clarity and stability. This is very important for us. Last week at NIST, I made it very clear, in Petan we stick true to the power, that those of us in the service sector, not just Petan members, all the indigenous companies, We have a group, PCTS, which are multinational service providers, the like of Schlumberger, Baker, Liberty, Julius Berger. The IPPG members, the international oil companies, all of us that I've mentioned, were in line with NCDMD on what we need to do to help Nigeria increase oil and gas production. On the regulatory side, we need, as I said, clarity and stability. Appointment has been made. We want these appointments to stay where they are, and we need that stability because we cannot do it. All of us that I've mentioned, we can't do it on our own. We want technology. We also shape the future. Digitalization, automation, data-driven operations, and low-carbon solutions must be embraced to enhance efficiency, safety, and sustainability. Most importantly, the future of Africa energy sector will be built on partnerships, very important, between government, regulators, indigenous companies, IOC, financiers, and developmental institutions. These are the things we're calling for the next 10 years: move from dialogue to delivery, accelerate gas development and infrastructure, deepen local content utilization. 117 member companies. Just in the last 1 year, we've invested $100 million. These are facts in acquiring equipment in preparation to support Nigeria and of course Africa, that we have the capacity to increase this oil and gas production that we're all yearning for. Creating jobs, very important, and transferring skill. Petroleum is heavily involved in trading. I mentioned it, we have partnership with Renaissance, for instance. We are working with SLEPCO, we're working with Chevron to ensure that we continue to turn out well-trained engineers, technicians across the industry. Many of us here, I was talking about the CCE, we're at 66th floor, we're 60 years old. And by this time we should be retiring, so we need to train more of the young people to come in and take this industry forward. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, a decade ago we set out to drive Africa's energy future. Today we stand at the end of that journey, but at the beginning of a more ambitious chapter. Petroleum remains fully committed to working with all stakeholders to build a resilient, inclusive and sustainable energy industry that delivers prosperity to our people and value to our partners. Thank you for your attention and wishing you a productive, impactful and memorable SAIPEC 2026. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Wale FNSD, the Chief Executive Officer of Geoplex, Geotech, and Chairman of Petroleum. Thank you. Please give him another round of applause. Let me also acknowledge the Presidents and Chairman of Industry Associations who have come to join us today. And I've seen the Chairman of SP somewhere in the room, Mr. Francis Oche. Very good morning to you. And indeed, any other Chairman or President, I haven't cited the others, but welcome to. That's Octan over there, Octan President, Mr. Chris Osanome said, very good morning to you. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Yes. All right, we'll take a 2-minute video from Petroleum. When I come back, we'll listen to an Namibian representative before we get into the regulators, National Oil Company, and the ministers. Technical, Petroleum, 2 minutes.
Local content capacity to address energy security problems by ourselves.
For 10 years, SAIPEC has been at the heart of Africa's energy conversation, a platform where ideas become policy, conversations become investments, and the future of energy takes shape. The Sub-Saharan Africa International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference, SAIPEC, has grown into the premier meeting point for industry leaders, policy makers, investors, and innovators from across the globe.
Exactly 10 years ago, our thought was to have an exhibition within West Africa, whereby many of us that have technology, that have know-how, we can exchange that with the industry so that within that region we can see the capacity that we have in this sub-region of Africa on how to support oil and gas production across the region.
We are helping oil production locally without much foreign intervention to produce oil. And that's what a lot of countries in Africa is trying to replicate in their own countries.
SAIPEC has actually become Africa's leading place for oil, gas, and energy, facilitating millions of dollars in contracts and partnerships and driving projects and investments across Africa's energy value chain.
Today, Africa stands at a defining moment, balancing energy transition with energy security, growth with stability, and opportunity with responsibility. The 10th edition of SAIPEC is not only a celebration of how far the industry has come, but a platform to define the next decade of Africa's energy journey.
They've showcased the Nigerian content very briefly, and they've taken it overseas. Most of them are working right now in Angola. Most of them are partnering with people in Mozambique. And they've taken it to Uganda. And this is what Petroleum has helped to do, a platform for African energy. And we look forward to seeing it getting bigger and bigger, and also helping to shape the energy need of Africa and development of African energy industry.
Whether you are shaping policy, driving investment, developing technology, or building the next generation of energy solutions, your place is at SAIPEC. Be part of the dialogue, be part of the partnerships, be part of Africa's energy future.
Okay, and you are part, you are here. Let your participation continue. As I move on now to brief remarks from the country of Namibia. Representing them here is the High Commissioner of the Republic of Namibia to Nigeria. Please welcome His Excellency Walde Ntangwe Nafshia.
Director of Ceremonies, distinguished audience, delegates, let me observe and stand by the protocol as already established by the Director of Ceremonies and the previous speakers, ladies of the time. It is indeed a distinct honor to address this distinguished gathering in the Sub-Saharan Africa International Petroleum and Conference SAIPEC here in Lagos, Nigeria. I commend the organizers for convening this landmark 10th edition of Africa's largest oil and gas platform, an event which over the past decade has played a pivotal role in shaping strategic discourse, partnerships, and investment decisions within Africa's energy sector. SAIPEC has firmly established itself as a premier convening platform, bringing together national oil companies, the national oil companies, EPC contractors, service providers, technology innovators, financiers, and policymakers from across Sub-Saharan Africa and beyond. It is through this platform of this caliber that the meaningful dialogue is fostered, robust partnership approach, and the transformative commercial opportunities are unlocked. This conference takes place at a defining moment for Africa's energy landscape across the continent. Significant oil and gas discoveries continue to emerge. However, experience has shown us that discoveries alone do not create value. Sustainable value are realized through sound contracts, fair and transparent negotiations, strong institutions, regulatory certainty, and effective collaboration across the sector. the entire energy chain. Let me now move on briefly to Namibia. For those who may not be fully familiar with Namibia, allow me to briefly provide the context. Namibia is located on the southwestern coast of Africa, bordered by South Africa, Botswana, Angola, and Zambia. The country covers an area of approximately 292 square kilometers and has a population of about 3 million. Our capital city, Windhoek, serves as an administrative, political, and commercial hub of the country. Namibia is internationally recognized for its unique and pristine natural environment. The Namib Desert, one of the oldest deserts in the world, stretches along our Atlantic coastline, while the Kalahari Desert spans much of the eastern region. The Skeleton Coast runs along our shores and is the extensive offshore environment that lies at the heart of Namibia's emerging oil and gas narrative. Politically and institutionally, Namibia is a stable constitutional democracy underpinned by a strong rule of law, independent institutions, and a predictable legal framework. This political and regulatory stability is particularly critical for capital-intensive, long-term industries such as oil and gas. Where are we now in terms of Namibia's petroleum journey? For many years, Namibia was regarded as a frontier, high-risk exploration jurisdiction. While upstream exploration activities date back to the 1970s, including the discovery of the gold gas field in 1974, the majority of exploration wells yielded limited commercial successes. Consequently, investors' interest remained subdued for several decades. This perception fundamentally changed in 2022. The graph discovered by Shell, followed shortly thereafter by the Venus discovery by Total Energies, conclusively confirmed the presence of a working petroleum system in Namibia's offshore oil basin. These discoveries marked a decisive turning point in Namibia's energy trajectory. Between 2022 and 2025, Namibia experienced an unprecedented surge in offshore exploration and appraisal activity. At the peak periods, up to 4 deep-water drilling rigs were operating concurrently. This phase delivered several notable discoveries, appraisal successes, including Graf, Venus, Jongle, Lesedi, Edima, Mopani, Mangeti, Sagittarius, and Capricornus. To date, close to 6 billion barrels of oil equivalents have been discovered offshore Namibia since 2022. Venus and Mopani now rank among the largest oil and gas discoveries in Sub-Saharan Africa, firmly positioning Namibia on a global energy map. From discovery to development, where we're heading now as a country. Briefly, while discoveries are significant, they represent only the first step in the value chain. The truest test lies in transitioning from discovery to commercial development. Namibia is currently prioritizing comprehensive appraisal drilling to further delineate resource size, quality, and recoverability. Currently, focus is shifted towards field development planning, project economics, infrastructure design, and contractual frameworks. Current development was for concept and recent phase offshore development, air gas rejection strategies, and subsequent gas momentum solutions. These projects will require sophisticated commercial arrangements covering joint ventures, financing structures, risk allocation, host-government agreement, and local content commitment. Finally, investment decisions for the flagship projects are anticipated between 2026 and 2027, in line with the government of the Republic of Namibia under the leadership of our president, has clearly identified oil and gas as one of the country's strategic economic enablers. Ladies and gentlemen, with these few words, I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. While the Tangwe, the Bashir, the High Commissioner of the Republic of Namibia to Nigeria, stating the case there for Namibia. Indicates there for Namibia on their willingness to continue to collaborate across the continent. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're switching gears now to a host country addresses. I'll begin first on the virtual platform on the screens in front of you. That is the remarks from the Group Chief Executive of NNPC Limited, Engineer Bashir Bayo Jewelry. Technical, if you're ready, please.
In person at the SAIPEC 2026, but I'm delighted to send my warm goodwill and strong support as we mark a truly significant milestone, 10 years of driving Africa's future. Let me start by commending Petroleum for the vision, resilience, and consistency that have made SAIPEC one of Africa's most respected platforms. In just one decade, SAIPEC has grown beyond a conference. It is now a powerful statement of African capability, clear proof that our continent can convene, collaborate, and compete at the very highest global standards. NNPC Limited is proud to be a strategic partner of this year's edition. This partnership reflects shared conviction that Africa's energy future must be shaped by Africans, anchored on strong institutions, credible policies, capable indigenous companies, and partnerships that deliver real value. I'm confident that SAIPEC 2026 will be as ambitious and impactful as ever. The conversations you are driving, from gas development and investment industry to local content, inclusion, and youth development, speaks directly to our realities. These are not abstract debates about our challenges. They should speak to the confidence in Nigeria's capabilities, believe in Africa's capability, and ambition without apology. It should speak to an Africa that is no longer a content follower, but a real credible leader. At NNPC, we remain committed to playing our part, strengthening partnerships, supporting indigenous capacity, advancing gas as a catalyst for industrialization, and ensuring that Africa's energy story is one of creation, responsibility, and opportunity. Told by us, as we deliberate, celebrate, and look ahead, I encourage you to use this milestone to recommit to the future we must build together. Congratulations on 10 remarkable years. I wish you a successful and inspiring conference.
Thank you very much, Group Chief Executive Office of NNPCL, Engineer Bashir Bayo Jewelry there. I think he was the one who had suggested that we go from YPEC to SAIPEC. I remember vividly on a panel when I had drilled out a number of African representatives, then he was moderating and he said, let's take this thing beyond West Africa, make it Sub-Saharan Africa. So you're one of those that played a key role in shaping this conversation and this platform. Please give him another round of applause. Okay, taking my program a little bit, and this time I'm going to be calling on the African Local Content Collaboration remark. And that is from the Engineer Felix Omashola Obe, the ES of NCEMB. Again, for those who may not know, the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board. He's not here with us, but not to worry. A reliable and capable representative is here. Welcome, Director of Corporate Services on behalf of the ES, Dr. Abdul Malik Ali.
Honorable Minister,
Excellencies, distinguished industry leaders, captains of energy industry, I bring warm greetings and felicitations from Engineer Felix Omoshola Ogbe, who is unavoidably absent, for he sends his warmest regards and best wishes for all participants. The chairman of PETAN had eloquently presented most of the achievements of local content. So all what Wale said were co-created and delivered by both NCDMPs and PETAN. So I won't spend much time on what we have achieved. My speech will focus more on policy direction. It is an honor to address you today at the SAIPEC 2026 conference as we celebrate its 10th anniversary. Congratulations on the remarkable milestone. As we reflect on the insights of the SAIPEC 2025 conference, it is evident that the journey towards fostering local content in Africa's energy sector has achieved significant milestones. With one critical realization, which is the need for us to foster collaboration. Our efforts cannot be siloed. They must be collective to ensure that progress is sustained and consolidated. Collaboration among governments, private sector players, and local communities is the bedrock upon which successful local content strategies will be built. It is only the pathway to achieve optimal utilization of capacities that have been developed around fabrication, engineering, and oilfield services. In Nigeria, our local content strategy has been deliberate. We initially focused on deepening indigenous participation, followed by capacity building, and now the introduction of policies and guidelines that prohibit the transfer of certificates to intermediaries. This approach enables the board to work with competent, capable, and fewer vendors. Furthermore, these criteria will now form part of the technical evaluation process in tenders. At the continental level, Africa's drive must be anchored on collaboration. We must collectively leverage the Brazzaville Accord to promote regulatory harmonization, sectoral cooperation, and Afrocentric approach to local content development. By aligning our frameworks and minimizing bottlenecks, we can enhance projects' competitiveness and economic viability, positioning Africa to attract global funding. NCDMB, in collaboration with Apple, is developing a comprehensive database of African oil and gas companies seeking project funding. This database will be accessible as part of the first call process. Just last week, the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources did us proud as Africa by handing over the Africa Energy Bank in Abuja. The essence of the Africa Energy Bank is to create a platform that will reduce reliance on depleting foreign loans. The bank is scheduled to commence operation within the first half of 2026. With the commissioning of the headquarters, the overarching objective is to strengthen the capacity and capability of African companies, ensuring that future oil and gas projects across the continent prioritize local and African funding sources before seeking global financing. The establishment of the Africa Energy Bank, in partnership with Eveafrique, represents a significant strategic milestone. The bank is designed to mobilize capital for African energy projects, provide access to affordable financing, strengthen industry players, and enhance capacity across the continent. As most of you are aware, there are very critical investments that need to be made if we are to achieve maximum local content across Africa. Some of these major investments, for instance, establishment of seamless pipelines, require huge capital investment that we need the Africa Energy Bank to mobilize the funds and all the support that is required for us to be able to make such huge investments so that we reduce dependence on foreign original equipment manufacturers. I therefore urge all stakeholders, governments, regulators, investors, and industry leaders to actively support the realization of Energy Bank and other initiatives being rolled out under Apple, which is to galvanize all of us as African countries towards the common objective of domiciliation of local content across our various countries. In conclusion, the path forward towards the collaboration and a shared vision by working together across borders, industries, and sectors, we can develop a robust, inclusive, and sustainable local content strategy that will propel Africa's energy sector to new heights. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malik Halilu, Director of Corporate Services of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, speaking on behalf of the Executive Secretary. Right, still with the host country addresses. This time we're going to take our next remark from a professional who, as the government sought to consolidate on the reforms that have started and continue to push the envelope of turning our potential into actual capacity, they had hunted our next speaker to come and continue that success story and continue to build on the blocks laid by the founders. And so she came with depth, with character and knowledge to drive this narrative. Please welcome Commission Chief Executive of the UPRC, Mrs. Ayeson Olusegun, for her own address.
Honorable Minister, permit me to stand on existing protocol already set. It is my distinct honor to welcome you all to the Sub-Saharan Africa International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference 2026, held here in our vibrant city, Lagos. On behalf of NUPRC, I extend a warm and sincere welcome to all our esteemed guests, including honorable ministers, heads of delegations, regulatory leaders, industry executives, development partners, investors, technical experts, and delegates from across Africa and beyond. I would also like to thank Petroleum for this visionary leadership and ongoing commitment to advancing Africa's oil and gas sector through SAIPEC. Distinguished guests, we gather at a critical point for Africa as the continent's role in global energy landscape continues to evolve. Africa's momentum is building over the past 3 years. The continent's share of global capital has grown. Of the 520 billion projected in worldwide capital investment this year, Africa alone expects to attract almost 10% of that amount, translating to about $48 to $50 billion. This indeed is significant, especially when you look at where we are coming from, about 4%. This notable progress is fueled by renewed interest in countries such as Nigeria, Namibia, Mozambique, and other prolific basins. The resurgence has led to successful exploration, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa, bringing both challenges and opportunities. Forums like this are vital for facilitating dialogue and innovative solutions. I know Richmond cautioned that we should translate dialogue to action. And I believe that that is the intent of our gathering here today. Collectively, Africa must remain focused on attracting and sustaining the capital needed for new discoveries as well as sustaining current production. Key priorities for our continent's advancement include attracting and retaining capital, deploying advanced technology, developing and upskilling our workforce, and we cannot overemphasize that point, and establishing governance frameworks that are predictable, stable, transparent, and rules-based. Such measures foster an environment that encourages engagement and sustained growth. As we work to draw in more external investment, encouraging capital formation within Africa remains very, very essential. Domestic capital brings stronger commitment and stability, creating opportunities for development. In Nigeria, African independence are driving capital investment and project progress. A milestone in this regard is the creation of the African Energy Bank, just alluded to by my brother, the ES of NCDMB. Technology innovation is propelling our industry forward, improving efficiency in established bases, uncovering prospects in untapped areas, and reducing risk in complex regions throughout Africa. The transition from exploration to production relies heavily on these advancements, and local participation should be amplified. We must prioritize technology transfer within Africa, especially in imaging, seismic analysis, drilling methods, and petroleum operations to ensure sustainability. And I must also commend some of our sister countries who are reaching out to tap in on the vast experience that Nigeria has to offer. Sharing knowledge and investing in people are fundamental to building a resilient framework for Africa's future. Enhancing technological skills and supporting mobility across the continent are necessary steps. For instance, Nigeria's extensive experience in onshore and deepwater operations should be systematically shared with other African nations via a structured database and institutional backing. I urge this gathering to support Nigeria and the NUPRC in leading these initiatives. By cultivating homegrown expertise, Africa can compete globally, not only in technology and finance, but also in innovation. And I think this also speaks to the earlier submission by the Petroleum chair. Globally, Africa states must recognize that mere interest in our resources or geology does not guarantee final investment decisions. A robust, reliable institutional framework is essential. We must leverage this period of renewed interest by providing clear, consistent policies that give investors confidence for the long term. And like I have said at my maiden industry engagement, the Commission will be the enabler to achieving this. Through the Petroleum Industry Act 2021, Nigeria has addressed historical uncertainties. Our recent reforms have enhanced governance and investor confidence, empowering the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission to pursue efficient and responsible resource management. Nigeria is privileged to play a part in Africa's energy future. To facilitate resource access, Nigeria has launched the 2025 licensing round. Again, I see some of the faces who supported us during the pre-bid conference, and I say thank you for your support. We are offering 50 oil and gas blocks across various terrains. These initiatives reflect a targeted approach to responsible resource development. We invite capable investors to participate and help realize Nigeria's promising upstream potential. And this invitation is not only open to Nigerians, as we all know. We extend the invitation to our sister countries. Beyond national efforts, regional cooperation is having a transformative effect. The expansion of gas and power infrastructure is improving access, reliability, and cost effectiveness throughout the continent. In addition, policy alignment through organizations such as AFRIPEF, that is the African Petroleum Regulators Forum, is strengthening Africa's collective voice on the world stage, promoting energy justice and safeguarding development goals. This spirit of partnership and integration is embodied in SAIPEC 2026, bringing markets together, attracting investments, co-developing solutions, and positioning Africa as a reliable, responsible, and forward-focused energy partner. Ladies and gentlemen, as we participate in the discussions, exhibitions, and networking events ahead, I encourage everyone to reflect on these key issues and embrace this platform as a call to partnership and purposeful action for sustainable investment, shared prosperity, and energy security in Africa and globally. Once again, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our lovely city of Lagos, Nigeria, and to SAIPEC 2026. Wishing you all insightful and a memorable conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commission Chief Executive Officer of Eveafrique, Mrs. Eson Kurishima. Please give a round of applause. Thank you for those insights you've given us this morning. And switching gears from her, I'm going back to the virtual platform, and this time I'm going to the office of the Honorable Minister of State, Petroleum Resources for Gas. His Excellency the Right Honorable Bogamek Eko is not able to join us in person, but has joined us through this video playout. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to adopt the protocol as established by the MC of the occasion. I bring you felicitation from the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, DCFR. It is a great pleasure to join you at this landmark 10th anniversary edition of the Sub-Saharan Africa International Petroleum Exhibition and Conference, SAIPEC. I commend the Petroleum Technology Association of Nigeria, PETEN, for sustaining this platform over the past decade and for its consistent contribution to thought leadership, capacity development, indigenous participation in Africa's energy industry. Over the last 10 years, SAIPEC has evolved beyond an exhibition and conference into strategic convening space for policymakers, regulators, investors, operators, service providers, and technology innovators across the African energy landscape. Its growth mirrors Nigeria's own journey in deepening local content, strengthening institutional frameworks, and repositioning the petroleum industry to meet the realities of a rapidly changing global energy system. This anniversary, therefore, provides an opportunity not only to celebrate progress, but to reflect candidly on the road ahead, particularly for gas, which sits at the heart of Nigeria's energy security, industrialization agenda, and responsible energy transition. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria is endowed with one of the largest natural gas reserves in the world, and the federal government, under the leadership of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, DCFR, is recently committed to translating this endowment into inclusive economic growth, energy access, and national prosperity. Our declaration of the decade of gas is not a slogan. It is a deliberate policy choice anchored on utilization, gas addition, and value addition, and domestic industrial growth. In recent years, we have made meaningful gains in creating a more enabling environment for gas development. The Petroleum Industry Act, PIA 2021, has brought greater clarity, transparency, and predictability to the sector. Institutions have been realigned, regulatory rules clearly defined, and fiscal incentive introduced to unlock investment across the gas value chain, upstream, midstream, and downstream. On infrastructure, we continue to advance critical backbone projects that will unlock stranded gas and deepen domestic supply. Progress on the Eko gas pipeline and the OB3 gas pipeline remains central to our vision of a connected national grid. At the regional level, Nigeria is strengthening cross-border gas cooperation, which reinforces Nigeria's position as a reliable gas supplier within the sub-region and beyond. Equally important is gas utilization. Beyond export revenues, gas must power industries, generate electricity, fuel transportation, and transform households. Through sustained support for LPG penetration, CNG adoption, and gas-based industries, we are deliberately linking gas policy to social outcomes, clean cooking, job creation, improved health, and environmental sustainability. Clean cooking in particular is not only an energy solution, it is a development and stability imperative. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, none of these ambitions can be realized without strong indigenous capacity. This is where Petroleum and its member companies play a pivotal role. Over the past decades, Nigerian service companies have demonstrated resilience, technical competence, and growing sophistication. Local content is no longer about participation alone. It is about competitiveness, innovation, and export of Nigerian expertise across Africa. As we deepen gas development and embrace new technologies, digitization, automation, emission management, and energy efficiency, we must ensure that Nigerian companies are not merely consumers of technology, but co-creators of solutions. Government will continue to work closely with the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, NCDMB, industry associations, and financial institutions to expand access to funding, de-risk projects, and strengthen capacity across the gas value chain. The global energy transition presents both challenges and opportunities for Africa. Where capital is becoming more selective, energy demand, particularly in emerging economies, continues to grow. Africa's task is not to choose between development and sustainability, but to pursue both in a balanced, pragmatic manner. For Nigeria, gas is the anchor of that balance. Cleaner than other fossil fuels, abundant, scalable, and capable of supporting renewable through grid stability and industrial backup. As policymakers, our responsibility is to provide consistency, coherence, and confidence. As industry leaders, your role is to invest, innovate, and execute with discipline and responsibility. Platforms such as SAIPEC are critical in aligning these roles, fostering dialogue, and shaping shared solutions for Africa's energy future. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I congratulate Petroleum on 10 impactful years of SAIPEC. I encourage all participants to use this conference not just to exchange ideas, but to forge partnership, accelerate projects, and translate discussions into measurable outcomes. The future of Nigeria's gas sector and indeed Africa's energy security will be shaped by the decision we take today. I wish you a successful and productive conference. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The Right Honorable Bagamekbari, the Eko there, the Honorable Minister of State Petroleum Resources. You know, it is at one of these SAIPEC events, or one of these industry events, I don't remember which one now, that the industry began to advocate that let gas be giving a position, let gas be giving its own office, let gas be giving a bit more attention. And our current president listened to the industry and created that office for a minister to oversee everything that has to do with gas. He, again, demonstrating his ability to listen to an industry and put the right place in the right role. Now, our next speaker is on the other side responsible to oversee oil. But what I like about what he's done through the years, people say there's momentum in the industry, projects coming here and there. That momentum for me is coming from a place because the man who's been saddled the responsibility is one who wants to see this industry progress. Any clog in the wheel of progress, he wants to see it get out of the way. And that for me, he's earned my respect in always standing tall for this industry, locally and internationally. We'll listen to him now. Please welcome His Excellency, the distinguished Senator Eko Convention Centre, a woman in Sub-Saharan from resources to oil.
Thank you. Good morning. First of all, when I went out to make a call, I saw one of my colleagues from Sierra Leone. He was seated at the back. I don't know why he was sitting at the back. Please, can you come forward? Sierra Leone. A man from Sierra Leone. Went out again? Okay. Well, the CC, AUPRC, the Executive Secretary, NCDMP represented, Chairman of Petroleum, leaders of SAIPEC who are here from across the African continent, ambassadors, captains of the industry, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed very a privilege to be joining you today, at this very important 10th anniversary of SAIPEC. Last year I was here, and I'm very happy to be here to be celebrating with you on the 10th anniversary of SAIPEC, which has become a very reputable organization, bringing leaders from the African continent together to discuss issues that are very important to energy security in Africa. It's important for me to commend Petroleum. Petroleum for its vision and sustainability. One thing is to envision something, another thing is to ensure that your vision is translated to tangible deliverables for the benefits of the African continent. This is an event that attracts over 30 countries together. And this is an event that not just dwelling on rhetorics, but indulging in conversations that are very, very fundamental to solving our energy poverty problems in Africa. All of you seated here know the story of energy poverty in Africa. All of you also, will agree with me that resource richness in Africa is also a non-story. But the problem has been how do we provide a solution that is needed. This is my colleague from Sierra Leone. Please sit down. The problem has been providing solution to Africa's energy poverty. And I've always contended that the solution to a problem starts with you seated here. It starts with the services that are needed to be provided for the industry by members of Petroleum and Petroleum, sister, organizations across the entire African continent. You agree with me that global discussion has shifted from energy transition to energy mix. For the past 1.5 years, as Minister Akora and the group contended that Africa has been allowed to use, to explore our resources in a responsible, environmentally sustainable way for the benefit of the African continent. But at that time, the narrative was energy transition. happy today that the IEA, the International Energy Agency, that came up with net zero, in their 2025 outlook, have changed the position to, energy mix. Back in that, IEA 2025 outlook, it is stated there that the world will need a minimum of $700 billion, about $540 billion in Australia alone, for the world to avoid energy crisis by the year 2050, which is not 25 years from now. My own happiness is that those who came up with, this idea of net zero, this idea of transition, have since realized, the reality, and I changed the position. So today, all of you seated here who are from Africa, please change the discussion from energy transition to energy mix. The truth is that in all, the outlooks from OPEC, from IEA, from, very powerful, organizations and individuals in the world, it is always said that oil and gas will still constitute over 50% of the global energy demand for the foreseeable future. In Africa, we have not even scratched the surface when you talk about, harnessing the energy potential that we have as a continent. And that is why I'm saying that, look, from today, I want all of you to please change the narrative. It will be very, very, interesting if Africa today will start a discussion. Anywhere we go, within the continent and outside the continent, about energy mix instead of energy transition. I'm sure you and I know that we are victims. The entire African continent contributes only less than 4%. The United Kingdom contributes 4.8%. Between US and China, they account for over 50%. But these countries are still exploring the oil and gas resources. So why should the victims cry, louder than the sinners? The court have always contended that Africa's solution lies with Africans. That is why I'm very happy, that Petroleum has been able to bring delegates from across the entire continent, to discuss, solutions to solving our energy, problems in Africa. Let me also make it very clear that I love African communities. I love Petroleum members and sister companies like Petroleum across the African continent. But what I don't like is middlemanism. Some people in Petroleum are overhead and they think I didn't hear them. I heard them. But they say, this guy is always talking against Petroleum. No. I love Petroleum. I was among those in the Senate who passed a law making Petroleum part of NCD. Governing Council. There was a reason for that. But what I don't want is for us to continue to the middleman. If you want to be middleman, you can't grow. But I know you people, you guys, over the past 15 years, over the past 30 years, have grown enormous capacity. Rendering services, not just to Nigeria, but across the entire African continent and beyond. And that is what I want of Petroleum. So, try to eliminate the bad eggs amongst you who want to be perpetually middlemen, increasing the costs of production. I've always told you that anytime I go to Federal Executive Council and issues raised, why our cost of production, why our cost of services is higher than countries that are at war. I have no answer. And I've always come back to Petroleum to say, look, what is the solution to this? I don't want to be embarrassed all the time. I should be ready with answers anytime issues are raised about this industry. So Petroleum, we are in this together. We have to strengthen our partnerships and continue to grow better companies to render the services that could be rendered for the benefit of this industry. And that is why, I'm very happy anywhere I go in the continent. People ask me, how did you grow local content in Nigeria? And I told them, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. You start your own, and you will grow the way Nigeria has grown in local capacity. And I'm very happy that Petroleum itself, on their own, has been able to, galvanize the entire continent under, the auspices of SAIPEC, to be in a room every year to be able to review what has happened and continue to set agenda for the continent. It is something for me to state here that Africa has enormous market. Part of the problem we have is that people believe that there's no market in Africa. The African market is huge. Data available shows that, for the past few years, Africa imports, for goods and services in the industry over $120 billion. $120 billion of goods and services. Most of these refined products and then imported services to the continent. Even in Petroleum and SAIPEC retains just 20% of that. The impact will be very, very transformative in the continent. And that is why our government, as enablers of businesses, we have no choice than to ensure that we work with Petroleum, we strengthen our partnership with stakeholders, ensure that we support you, to continue to get the value that is needed to be retained in the continent. Africa's problem largely, as you know, the Petroleum chairman when we were talking said, has largely been, access to capital. So that's why the African Petroleum Producers Organization came up with the idea of African Energy Bank. And thanks to our African brothers, they trusted Nigeria and gave us the hosting rights to host the headquarters of the African Energy Bank. And just last week, we had the rare privilege of handing over, the furnished headquarters of the African Energy Bank to the promoters of the bank. The promoters of the bank, African Bank, and Apple. We've handed it over to them, and we have given them a timeline within which the bank has to be, launched. And we'll do everything. And Nigeria, as most countries, has obligations, and we have met all our obligations. And today, African countries have made subscriptions, and Nigeria has made about 70% of that subscription. 70%. And I've told them when my colleagues in Africa, came, to Abuja, and we had a meeting on Monday. I told them that if they are going to delay raising the balance of the minimum capital needed, Nigeria will raise the balance so that the bank can take off. And they were very excited. When African Bank also started, not all countries raised their capital at the same time. But few countries raised the capital. The bank started. Today, the bank is huge. The bank is rendering invaluable services, as far as financing oil and gas, is concerned. And this being a specialized bank, need to take off without any further delay so that we'll be able to raise the funding needed to service this industry. If we have to solve Africa's energy problem, the solution has to be raising capital to finance Africa's, oil and gas projects. The North, on the global North, had always used financing as a weapon against the continent. And this is the time for us to find an homegrown solution. And there are people ready from all over the world, from Middle East, from Saudi, from everywhere. When the bank takes off for them to also invest in the bank so that we can really capital in there to finance projects in Africa. Africa itself has enough capital. Data, available data shows that Africa composed of over $4 trillion. This money is in solid wealth funds. This money is also in pension funds, insurance assets, and unclaimed dividends. $4 trillion. So the problem is not whether capital is available in the continent, but how do we unlock this capital to finance oil and gas? That is what SAIPEC should talk about. That's what governments should talk about. And the assurance I can give to you, that governments, working together with, colleagues from across the continent, will do everything humanly possible to ensure that we unlock, this capital to finance, projects in this sector. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as EU celebrated 10 years, 10 very, very eventful years, also to set an agenda for the next 10 years. What is the projection for the next 10 years? It's easy for people to plan ahead. Give yourself projection. This is what I want to be the next 10 years. Any association without projections is diluted. So please, SAIPEC, leaders of the industry, as we discuss here for the next few days, set an agenda for the next 10 years. Where do we want to be? Where does Africa want to be in the next 10 years? Do we still want to be where we are? Certainly there. I want us to lead to the next world. This is the time. Now that we have momentum, now that the whole entire world is talking about we going back to, investment in oil and gas, this is the time. Let's not wait for another time. That time will come. Let us be the foundation. Let us take off. And no matter what happens in the next few years, whether it's a project or not, we are ready to take off. We can only laugh. So, ladies and gentlemen, as part of what I want you guys to look at, the next 10 years, we're looking at very strong standards. There should be deeper collaboration. There should be greater self-regulation. The best thing to do is for you, as members of SAIPEC, to look inward, and see how you can self-regulate yourself. It's all important because, pull that capital, mobilization. Rather what we've got to it, that some people, when they get money, instead of using money to invest, they use money to finance their lifestyle, which is not sustainable. And that's why I want to do something with the root of the instead of raise a loan, raise finance, intervention to finance investment so that you can lead. Because it's part of it, part of the process to finance a lifestyle, but don't use the capital to finance a lifestyle. Just like somebody who has grains of banks, you cook the grains and eat them. There was nothing to it. And it's what we have seen in this industry, which is not sustainable. Let me conclude by saying that the federal government is absolutely committed to partnering with SAIPEC, partnering with Petroleum and industry stakeholders, to ensure that we address the issue of energy poverty in Africa. And I believe that for the next few days, that you have the opportunity of coming here to discuss the state of Africa's energy future. You guys will come up with tangible, and practical deals was a very, very, very rare privilege to declare the 10th edition of this SAIPEC conference. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, distinguished Senator Heineken Lekogori, PhD, Global Minister of Human Resources. All right. Thank you. Please, one more time, let's round of applause for him. Thank you. Okay, I think we are now ready to start setting the agenda for the next decade. We've completed 1 decade. We've listened to our regulators, we've listened to our ministers, we've listened to governments. Now let's start setting the agenda for the next 10 years. To begin that conversation, I'd like to welcome first of on the panel. And this panel is on unlocking Africa's energy potential. We're continuing to overview, but what the minister has mentioned is unlocking the traps when it concerns the industry, where they're in different industries. How do we get there? Let the conversation begin. Let's just welcome Mr. Fode. You need to go all the way to the second one there. There you go. Fantastic. Joining him, I'd like to welcome the Senior National Content Officer of Petroleum Authority of Uganda, Linda Nalubanga. You are welcome. From Gambia, I'd like to welcome the brand new director. Joining them from a host country, please welcome our CCEA UPRC, Mrs. Dorisha Diwa, and yes, she completes the list. The panelists for this panel. All right, and to help us drive the conversation, Chairman, AA Holdings, please welcome Dr. Austin Abur Efnabe. Yes, there's one other reason. As a state executive.
Honorable Minister of Natural Resources, all distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our pleasure to kickstart this festival. And I think we're going to focus on what the Honorable Minister spoke about, which is agenda setting. There's a lot of talk about Africa's energy poverty, which means the shift from being just a resource-rich continent to a continent that consumes those resources for the benefit of the growth of its economy. I hope that this will be focused on agenda setting for the next 10 years. And I'm going to start from where we go around the just to see the context from point of view of each of your countries. What is the agenda that you have for your country key into this African resource exploitation for the benefit of the African economy.
Thank you.
And I'm going to start. I'm going to start from the host country.
Thank you.
Not just because you're the host country. Correct. With almost 70 years of experience in this business, I expect that to be setting the example for the African countries. But you check with you and find out how you are succeeding in regulating this industry for the benefit of the Nigerian economy and the wider African economy. So let me start with maybe some agenda setting in the context of the African economy.
Thank you very much, my big brother. And again, thank you, Honorable Minister and members of the audience. Indeed, Nigeria is a grandpa in this business. Over 70 years, I think that's over a grandpa himself. We've gone through several phases of our development, to the extent where we grew as much as 2.5 million barrels per day in this country. Today, we are a few, maybe 200,000 shy of 2 million barrels. Again, how did we get here? And I think how we got here and how we are getting out of here will be a good lesson for our sisters and brothers. When we started the industry, it was predominantly foreign-based. We had investors, we had operators really interested in the industry. At a point in our developments, it occurred to us that the only way we can sustain development is to do homegrown resource base as well. And then we started the Nigerian content clamor. I was having a conversation before this meeting and somebody reminded me of how far back the clamor started. At a point, you won't believe it, at a point in the industry, you had the whites only and the blacks only segments. However, fast forward, all that is history. We developed a Nigerian content to the extent where we now have Nigerian content operators. But the question is, how did we lose production? And why are we trying to go back? So I think one of the learnings was the regulatory framework for the industry. The good thing is that we learned, but it took us over 20 years to learn and to fix the problem. Nigerian content was also another problem. However, we enacted the Petroleum Industry Act. I believe that was a game changer. So all the problems we had leading to the enactment of the Nigerian Content Act, I think from that point forward, we started seeing an upswing again after the huge dip. The regulatory framework became a lot clearer. We have consistent laws and we now have a responsive administrative system. And what I mean by that, even though the Nigerian Content Act had been passed, we were able to identify gaps in that piece of work. And the government immediately stepped in to provide the necessary fiscal incentives. So one key lesson is our responsiveness. So first of all, we have the right laws, we have the enabling laws. You have to be responsive because the environment is a cyclical one. You have your peaks and you have your troughs, but you must be responsive and you must have a system that responds adequately. Financing has been a challenge. What has happened by virtue of the Nigerian Content Act is that today we've been able to open the industry to attract financing. The NUPRC is finalizing the 2024 bidding round. We will be getting the final awards anytime soon. We are in the process of progressing the 2025 bidding round, and we have a clear line of sight to the 2026 bidding round. Hitherto, I don't recall any time in my 30, how many years of being in this industry that I saw this rapidity of opening the industry. So by being consistent in providing access, we are seeing capital come into Nigeria. By providing the right incentives, we are seeing capital come into Nigeria. Over 3 major FIDs have been taken in the last 2 years. That is significant. If you reflect back on the post-PIA era. So again, just to reiterate, having the right regulatory environment, being responsive, even after you have done that, being responsive is also very helpful. And having a strong local content base. We talk about Petroleum today. Petroleum has worked collaboratively with Nigerian content. We are not saying that the journey has been smooth and easy. However, where we identify gaps, at least we are quick to stepping in to dealing with those gaps. The minister talked about middlemanism. I recall, I think, same time last year during this event, it was one of the topics, that we highlighted. That in enacting the Nigerian content, we may have inadvertently created middlemen. But today, I believe the narrative is changing. We are now repositioning the industry. The contracting process is being restructured so that we remove middlemen and allow those who have capacity to operate. So these are some of a few of the things that we have done. Thank you very much.
The very wise words of a very experienced national oil company, national oil industry, the Nigerian oil industry, exemplified by Eveafrique, years of the CCE. And I would imagine that all the sister countries would have taken lessons from the deep insight about the use of legal and regulatory instruments to make the changes that are necessary to keep the industry moving and to address industry needs and get the industry to satisfy the needs of the larger economy. So let me now start with Sierra Leone. So you tell us, especially listening to Bay where you saw, what do we expect from your country?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for your question. The message coming out to Celebratory very soon. As a frontier nation, our agenda is to get to production as quickly and as safely for the eventually as possibly can. So we have done a lot in the past few years to understand our basin. Done a lot in the past few years to de-risk what we have. So the Chino last year we did a prospectivity study. Prospects that Sierra holds about 30 billion barrels of oil. Now, for us to get to this production and development that we're hoping to get to, what do we need to do as a country? The message coming out of the sector and IOCs has mainly been getting licensing in Africa is a cumbersome process. So we have listened to that message, and we've made sure that we remove as much of as many red tapes as we possibly can. Last company, which is a company, an indigenous company from Nigeria, we gave license to. From application to actual award license to 30 days. I think so we believe that our resources are not used to in the ground. Now we want to add our petroleum resources to the energy mix, as my brother minister says, so we can add to a national development. We've done a lot, as I mentioned, in to make sure that we become part of the conversation and we move from a frontier nation to a developing nation. So as I mentioned before, the message coming out to Sierra Leone is very simple. We want to be a producing nation in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, I think we're on course to drill our first well since 2011. Sierra Leone historically has drilled 8 wells. So there is no guess why we haven't been commercial discovery. So from these 8 wells drilled, there's been 4 discoveries made, albeit not commercial. So what we need to make sure that we do is, this year, especially, one of the companies, so we've attracted A&I in October last year. So we want companies to come in this year, drill and test the well. So I'm hoping our Nigerian company, Eveafrique, that's in there, will drill and test the well this year. So we're pushing them to that. We're pushing them to that. And what we do well is, within the petroleum sector in Sierra Leone, we're very communicative and open. And we make sensible and right concessions for the right companies to come in to explore. I must say that Eveafrique have done a tremendous job in the past 2 or 3 years that we've been doing our license. In fact, the exploration program is far 3 years advanced. So that is, that is quite commendable for them to do. So I think I'll leave it there and get the rest of my.
Thank you very much. Let me move quickly to. Oh yes, you got that. Yes, you should have been able to tell us. I always refer to now your long pipeline. I hope that address it. Long pipeline to the coastline to take your production into the export routes. Tell us what your cash flow is.
Okay, thank you so much. As you know, Uganda is a part of Africa, and our oil and gas sector has continued to move very fast, and Nigeria has been one of our key countries that we've been benchmarking from. What has enabled us to move, we have set up a very good legal and regulatory framework with the policies, the regulations, and the laws in place. We've also ensured that we segregate the duties of the different entities, whereby we have the regulator, the commercial arm, which is the Uganda National Oil Company, and also the ministry. We have also emphasized on key enablers, and among them is promotion of national content. I think we've learned a lot of lessons from our colleagues, and national content is one of the areas where we have got it right, and we are still getting it right. Via employment, we have about 90% who are nationals in the oil and gas sector. Maybe just to say right now, we're in the development phase, and we are hoping to get our first oil this year, 2026. And the journey, well, it has been very interesting, full of lessons, and wherever we get challenges, we learn from those challenges and create solutions to them. I want to mention to this audience that currently Uganda is one of the best countries one can go for investment at this point of time. We have about 5 projects that are running and some are yet to commence. That's the Kingfisher one. It's about, Kingfisher is about 78% complete in terms of construction, but we are going into the operation phase. Then the Celebratory project is about 78%, rather 63% complete, but we are also going into the operation and maintenance phase. We have the Eko project, which was talking about the pipeline. We've already constructed a pipeline about 1,000 kilometers, and still we are going into commissioning, and we have the operation and maintenance still awaiting. Some of these are new to Uganda, so we expect investors to come and participate, either through joint ventures or normal contracting processes. So another enabler we put in place for the investors to the accessibility to information, transparency. If you go onto our website, you'll find the procurement plans, you'll find everything there. And we have the National Supplier Database whereby you can register and be part of the process. This database is open to all investors to, to participate. And I think Nigeria can attest to this. We have so many companies from Nigeria, like North, Eveafrique, they're all doing business in Uganda. So I would like to emphasize that, but the enablers in terms of partnerships have also been key. We've partnered with different stakeholders trying to understand this sector, and through that we've been able to solve challenges that come along in the sector. So partnerships are very key as an enabler to the excellence of a regulator. And I'm one person who always advocates that if we can get a solution in a room, we will not have to postpone it. Everyone is here. There are some challenges that countries have, and key decision makers, I believe most of them are here. So we should be able to discuss those matters and let the writing just be a formality. I'd like to live here when, for example, Nigeria has accepted me to bring 100 Ugandans to work in Nigeria, for example, with the refinery and so on. And I would also be happy to say that we have Nigerians who worked on the construction of the refinery and other projects. They should get priority in Uganda before other, regional content before other stakeholders come in. So this partnership should be decided in these rooms. Most key decision makers are here, and this will help us to continue as regulators to resolve some of the matters that we need to resolve. So in conclusion, Uganda, we've continued with our oil and gas sector. I'll be having a dedicated presentation in the afternoon on the opportunities in the oil and gas sector upstairs, and everyone is welcome to listen in details. But we're on course. We are going into we are already in the development phase. We are going into the operation phase, expecting the first oil before the year ends, and the opportunities are there for different companies to participate. Uganda's investment atmosphere is very good, and we welcome people to come in and invest, as we also hope to get a lot in the future from our wealth through proper revenue management, as well as support other linkages of the economy. Thank you for listening.
you so much for that opportunity. First, to let us know that we've actually done just about, if you like, 15, 16 years of production, because production actually started somewhere around December 2010, and calculating from that, we are talking about 60 years thereabout. Now, Ghana comes from a very unique background. I say unique because of how in the past we have managed our mineral resources. Most people associate Ghana with both mining and other mineral resources. And because of the background, how we manage mineral resources in a manner where we are unable to even point to visible signs of impactful projects for mineral resources. So when we discovered oil in 2007, we told ourselves that mineral storage should not be repeated. And so that was when we actually started putting in place very innovative laws. Before then, what we had was GNPC Law 84, which governed the oil sector and made GNPC both the regulator as well as the commercial partner in oil resources. But from 2007, we had to change course to ensure that we get it right from the beginning. And of course, yes, we learned from Nigeria, but we didn't just learn from Nigeria. We learned the right things from Nigeria, we seized the wrong things out of it, and then we learned from across the continent and from across the world lessons from other jurisdictions. So what did we do right after we discovered oil? We realized that to make it right, GNPC cannot continue as both the commercial representative of government as well as the regulator of the industry. And so in 2011, we had to come in with the Petroleum Commission Act, and I think that is the reason why I'm now sitting here today. Perhaps it is that act that has made it possible for the President to appoint the Chief Executive Officer, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Petroleum Commission. And what the Petroleum Commission does is to take over the regulatory functions of GNPC under our old law to now perform that regulatory role and then advise our minister accordingly. Then next, what we also did right is about the management of the petroleum revenues. So in 2011 again, we established, or should I say, we passed another law, which is the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. The idea is that from the onset, whatever you are doing in terms of trying to extract the oil or get the gas, the ultimate result is to be able to have an impactful, to have an impact in the economy. And to do that, you will need to manage the revenue generated from the resources very well. And so the Petroleum Revenue Management Act then was what established our sovereign fund for us, which has been working well in the last decade or so. Now, let me leave the regulatory ambit, let me leave the policy ambit a bit by way of what we have been able to establish in terms of the laws, and then come to operational level. Now, you realize that between 2010, when we started production, up to now, what we have been doing is we have about 3 production fields. The Jubilee field, the 10 field, and then the Sankofa Dynamic field. In all these years, these are the only fields that we still have. It tells you one story, that we have not been able to add on to these fields. And so if you come to Ghana today, the upstream industry is taking a nosedive in a way. And that is because steps that we have taken in the last 8 or so years were not really the best of steps that we have taken. Our fiscal regime was considered not very competitive. Most of the industry persons have told us. They have also indicated that even some of our local content provisions are things that we have to look at again, especially the targets that we have set for ourselves away from local content. So what did we do? We also realized that a new government, Ghana changed government in the last 1 year or so. So when the new government came into office and realized that if we don't take another look at how we manage upstream, then it will continue to go that way. So what did the president do? The president of the Republic of Ghana, John Dramani, he charged the Petroleum Commission and then our sector minister that whatever be the case, I'm giving you some few years, within 2-3 years, I want to see the upstream industry back to life again. Yes. And you have to do everything necessary to ensure that that happens. And so, what we have been doing in the last 1 year, since some of us were appointed to the office, is to ensure that we do a lot of road shows to ensure that we try and sell the story of Ghana out there in order to attract investment. But we are not just doing road shows. What are we also doing? We are changing the narrative. We went back to the complaints of the industry. They said our fiscal regime is not so attractive. So what we are doing currently is to assure them of the fact that we are taking steps to ensure that the fiscal regime is reloaded. So as I speak with you now, the minister has convened a regulatory reform committee, which is looking into the fiscal regime very well to ensure that we treat it one way or the other, to be more competitive within the African continent, but also globally. And so you will realize that most of the international oil companies are now trooping to Ghana. I am not mentioning names, but that is a fact, because they have all seen the promise of a new regime that is promising them good fiscal regime, that is promising them certainty in law, that is promising them clarity in the contracting process. And we are not just saying it with words of, just by word of mouth. When we sit at the negotiation table, we demonstrate it. We have the numbers, both in Parliament and in governance, to be able to change what it is that we really are promising them, and they know it. And so we are giving them that opportunity. But most importantly, the Minister, His Excellency, made mention about middlemanism, or something that maybe I didn't hear well. In our context, some of us will say fronting. We have some locals, not only in Ghana, I'm sure also in Nigeria, who, because of local content requirements that gives certain advantages to the locals, would often front for international business or investor models. And by so doing, you deprive the genuine locals of actually coming in to do good business. I say this because some people will come in as locals, you get the opportunity because you are a local to participate. Now, you are just hanging on to an acreage or a block, for example. And then that is the time you now begin to look out there for investors. So in the first place when you were coming, you didn't really have the capital at the point you were coming. You knew you didn't have the equipment to do what you had to do. You knew you did not partner with strategic partners that would help you to execute your work program. And yet you came, took the acreage, others are looking for the same acreage, you are hanging on to it and looking for partners. So we said, this should not be the way forward. We all want local content. We want to promote our African content. We would like to promote better. We would like to promote Ghanaian businesses. But when you are coming, come strong. And that is what leads us then to the financing bit that our minister again emphasized on. So we now have an energy bank, Africa Energy Bank. It is important that we make good use of this. But we cannot make good use of it if we don't strengthen the bank itself. And so it requires all of us, African countries, not to leave this to Nigeria as the Honorable Minister was trying to indicate. I think it is important. Ghana, Gambia, Uganda, all of us, we contribute our bit or quota to ensure that the bank actually works. In order that our local, companies like the Petroleum Group and all of that will be able to get the needed capital to participate meaningfully in the industry and not become frontiers or middlemen in the business for others to enjoy. And I think that these are just a few of some of the issues or what we have been doing in Ghana. And maybe in the course of the conversation, when questions are asked, I will be able to emphasize.
Thank you. Thank you. I knew there were a lot of lessons to learn from your 15 years of production experience. Having gone to peak production pretty early and now taking steps to reverse the decline in production. I'm going to create an indulgence and I'll come to you last. So let me just hand it over to the next country and we'll finish with Gambia for reasons that are not far-fetched.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for giving me the opportunity to share the Nigerian experience in oil and gas. Initially, I wanted to speak as yesterday evening, I had a discussion with some colleagues coming from Eveafrique, West Africa. We were discussing about Nigerian oil and gas, and he was surprised to hear that we are producing. Based on that, I say that means if my close neighbor, because there's just one country with finance, don't know that I'm producing oil, that means many of other people from other countries may not know those coming from East Africa and elsewhere. So I decided to prepare some slides that I want to share with you. Prepare it to me. Can you please put on the slide, please? No, it's not there. Yes, this is. Thank you. So I want to share some information on Nigerian oil and gas developments and opportunity we may have in our oil industry. So next. The presentation will be divided in 5 parts, from introduction, talking about recent development, the operational environment, and the opportunity we have in the sector. Talking of Nigerian government, so let me present it for some of us that are not really. So we are Sahel countries. Okay, we are Sahel countries. We have about 2/3 of the country is desert, composing and 1,267,000 square kilometers. We have 8 regions, 36 local governments, and 265 municipalities, the capital, state capital is Niamey. So this is a brief presentation of our country for those that may not know actually. Next. So give you a brief resume of our petroleum industry. So we have discovered so far more than 1 billion barrels of 2P crude oil in the past 15 years. We are actually producing 110,000 billion barrels a day. We have a domestic pipeline of 462 kilometers to join the production field to the refinery in Zender. We are running a refinery of 20,000 barrels a day. We have the export pipeline, one of the longest in Africa, 1,950 kilometers on land. We have a very high drilling success in the graben areas.
Where does the export pipeline go to?
Go to Benin Republic, from all the way from the fields through Niger to Benin Republic in the Senate. That's where the terminal is. And we have about 35 open blocks ready for explorations. Okay. We have about 90% of the country is sedimentary basin, covering a constitution of two main basins, the western basin and the eastern basins. Passing through. Okay, actually, the exploration has been concentrated within the graben areas. Almost about 90% of the exploration work has been done in the graben area, mostly. Actually, 4 blocks have significant exploration. 3 in the south, that is in the southeast of Niger, and 1 in the northern part close to the Algerian borders. Over 9 billion Southern barrels of respective resources has been put in place on more than 200 places. So this is the Niger map with the blocks constituted of 9 blocks are under license, 35 are opens. The 9 blocks are licensed to, one is licensed to Sonatrach, a branch of Sonatrach from Algeria, and then SAIPEC in Niger, 1 from Sub-Saharan Energy, and 1 from our national oil companies, the Vilma and Eko 567, to our national oil company mentioned there, which is the operator in the blocks. So we have some infrastructure, constitution of production, infrastructure. We have also value addition to refinery of 20,000 barrels per day, as said, with the existing pipeline of 30 inch diameter of capacity of 34,000 total capacity to feed the refinery, which constitutes a loading hub for domestic consumption. We have an export pipeline, as I said, it has go all the way from Abidjan blocks to Niger Republic to Benin Republic in Senegal, as one of the longest pipelines in Africa, 1,950 kilometers on line, and we have a marine section of 15 kilometers. So with a STM for loading tankers. The capacity of this pipeline is about 90%. Presently, we are exporting 90%, 90,000 barrels per day, and we have some availability for third party if needed. So for exploration, we have a data center that we must have many petroleum data, constitution of seismic data, gravity, magnetic data, gravity data, oil data, and so on. So our laws and policy consist of the Petroleum Code, the certificate of application. We have a national petroleum policy. We have the production sharing agreement, a contract applied in the country, And recently we have adopted the ordinance for the local content development. The business environment is friendly, we have a protected regime which is stabilized, supportive administration, control security environment, and efficient supply on the Sub-Saharan basin. We have maximum exploration period of 8 years, which can be extended to 10 years with 2 more years. The production period is about 25 years. We have, this is the tax attractive regime based on the oil code, Constitution of Royalty, tax oil, VAT exemption, duty exemption, and many other tax exemptions. So the awarding of work maximum can take about 3 months from the first they apply to the signing of the PSC. So the new local content act that was adopted in last year has been implemented to implement local content in the oil and gas sector, so that local companies that are operating oil and gas should create the local company. They should operate also are required to subscribe up to 40% of their services in local companies, because up to now it is less than 10% is captured by the local companies. So we must give opportunity to employ local Nigerians, establish, implement a program for recruitment, mentoring, training, and promotion of Nigerians. Operator and subcontractor also must assure technology and knowledge transfer to local companies. So these are the blocks that are open, 11 in the Western Bloc and 24 in the Eastern blocks. The potential for exploration exists in even in the mature exploration area. We can, from in the Cretaceous, we can have some formation regarding percentage of Donga Formation, Yogo Formation, and Madama Formation, which are in the mature exploration basin. In the frontier basin, we have potential in the Jago basin, which is at the north, close to Libya borders. We have the Devonian shelf, which can be a very good source for us. We have the Devonian shelf, which Subiros, Devonian sandstone can be a good reservoir in the areas. Exploration also available in the Western basin, where we have presence of graben based on the last gravity and magnetic survey, evidence on generation of explosion and possible accumulation in various parts of the basin from geological mechanical modeling. So what we are looking for here now is to develop our local content. So based on our young experience, we are looking for a joint venture with Nigerian companies and other African companies that can help us in oil servicing, basically patent members and other similar organizations in the country. So these are a new project we have. We have a project of building 100,000 barrel refinery, new refinery. We are looking for partnership to develop refine crude oil and to produce diesel, kerosene, LPG, gasoline, and so. We also want to develop a downstream sector. We want to develop the chemical industry also in this same project. We have oil field development of Birman Block, which is owned by our national oil company, which is also looking for partnership technically and servicing for to conduct the development program in the blocks. So we want venturing for potential and experienced company that can joint venture with local company to capture the oil servicing contract in the country. So these are areas and activities that can be where joint venturing and servicing are available. So it's a long list. You can see is throughout all the servicing in the upstream sector that we need expertise from other countries that can help us in developing our local content and also in promoting our oil and gas sectors. So in conclusion, Niger Republic have proved potential and is an emerging of one of Africa's most promising new oil frontiers, available of basic infrastructure and good operating environment. We have policies and regulations that has put in place by the government, actual government in the sector. The joint venturing with local company also can enhance the local content impact. So we are welcome to invest in with service companies and grow in the Nigerian oil and oil sectors. So this is the address if you wish, the email address and the phone address of the Ministry of Petroleum for any contact information and other further data. So thank you very much for listening.
This is an extremely exciting story. I'm sure not many Nigerians knew the story about Niger being oil producing country, exporting 90,000 barrels a day to a nearby Republic of Eveafrique, and refining 20,000 barrels a day domestically, and attempting to increase that to 100,000 barrels of refining capacity. I think we have a lot to learn from Niger, but since you need to ship a lot of geologists over to Niger to study that Cretaceous ground, Cretaceous basin, and hopefully bring the learnings back to our frontier basins that are trying to make new discoveries out there. Thank you very much for the conference. And now finally to all, let's hear from you.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone present, including my fellow panelists. So I'm coming from the Gambia, known as the Spiny Coast of Africa. It's one of the smallest, actually the smallest country on the mainland. But we've never had small ideas in a small voice. We're located in the MSCBC Basin, which is a starting point in African exploration. We sit right in the middle of Senegal, covered by Senegal to the north and the south, and to the west by the Atlantic Ocean. The fact that oil has been discovered to the north and the south augurs well for our growing potential. We have a prolific hydrocarbon province with mature source rocks and excellent reservoir qualities. We have favorable fiscal terms to deliver high-value development and a low-cost, fast development concept due to advanced infrastructural capability next door in Senegal. So in terms of our country profile institutional setup, you can say we have a country area that is probably the size of a local municipality in Nigeria. A population of 2.5 million, and our GDP growth is about 5.7%, with main economic activities of agriculture, tourism, and services. Institutionally, we are set up headed by the Ministry of Petroleum, with the Petroleum Commission as the regulatory arm and GNPC as the commercial arm. So we recognize that in a frontier-based context, institutional credibility from the outset, which is the above ground, is just as important as the below-the-ground geology. So the Petroleum Commission was established by an act of parliament, and we have data stewardship. We oversee the licensing processes and ensure compliance with national policies and laws for the petroleum sector. In terms of exploration blocks, we have about 8, out of which 5 are currently under negotiation with some very credible companies. We have had most of our wells drilled by Shell, Chevron, and more recently we had BP. Unfortunately, due to the COVID energy transition agenda, BP had to exit before drilling oil, but recently exploration interest has picked up again, and we have most of our blocks under negotiation with only 3 open at the moment. Key minimum work obligations are acquisition of seismic data and conduct of geological and geophysical studies. In terms of data coverage, we do have very good data maturity. At least 80% of our blocks in the offshore area are covered by 3D, about 60% covered by 3D. So we also have some recent well data that come from the working petroleum system. You would wonder why is it that when we sit in a prolific hydrocarbon province, we haven't found oil yet. this has been due to the struggle of attracting capital. You see that Africa upstream sector capital has dwindled from about 12% 10 years ago to just about 5% recently. However, we've identified some very good prospects, most of which were identified recently by BP, and they range from 1.1 billion barrels to about 250 million barrels of oil. In our recent post-well studies, it was confirmed that we do have a water petroleum system. Failures have not been systemic, but more related to the track. And we do believe that oil is trapped in a three-way diffusion that is truncated by the west to the previous region of conformity. We believe that with increased well density, we should be one step away from the next big hydrocarbon discovery. So I'll skip through this for the lack of time, but I'm really happy to discuss some of the key well learnings from our recent post-well studies. In terms of legislative reforms, we've undergone a comprehensive review of our legal framework over the past 5 years. We have a model petroleum exploration contract that has been developed with cross-industry consultation, that has been a key attraction for companies that we're currently negotiating with. We're harmonizing all the legislations that are impacting the sector, and we're also developing standalone fiscal terms for the upstream sector. In terms of negotiation strategy, we've moved from a licensing framework to direct negotiation strategy, which we find works well for a fast-tracked application process, and which we have seen IOCs are inherently more profitable with. So to repeat and recap our investment highlights, we have world-class discoveries in close proximity with significant billion-barrel in place discoveries made in adjacent acreages. In Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire, we have an excellent fiscal benign operating environment, very stable investment climate, flexible terms and conditions, low-cost drilling opportunities, even in a low oil price environment, and an environment that is ideally suited to these FPSOs. In conclusion, the Gambia offers favorable geology, excellent fiscal terms, good working petroleum system, very stable investment climate, and you're all welcome to this mining post. You may visit our website for more information, and I'm happy to work with the course of the next 3 days to talk to you about more opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you, Gambia. Thank you very much. I'll just avail of you the opportunity, 1 minute each. Just 1 minute each for last words. But in particular, Madam Sisi, in your own last words, I'd like you to comment on, so we have seen good discoveries and infrastructure across Africa. Now, you are seeing pipelines connecting Gambia to the east coast. You are seeing pipeline connecting Niger to the west coast. We have a gas pipeline from Nigeria heading already in Ghana and heading northward. Is there a future of interconnectivity and collaboration across Africa with all of this infrastructure and discoveries across the whole continent? Not specifically for you, but for the rest of us, just 1 minute of your last words. We'll start with you, Mrs.
Certainly, I think it's inevitable that we must have an interconnected network across the entire value chain, upstream, midstream, and downstream. And this is one of the things that necessitated the AfriPEF setup, and incidentally, I'm the chair of that regulatory body. And it's all about bringing us together so that we can at least have that framework developed from a regulatory perspective. For commercial, I mean, it's once you have an interconnected regulatory system, the commercial will always move there. But I know you haven't put this in my brief, but I think it's important that we address one point. The capacity that we have developed in Nigeria today is as a result of having the independent service companies coming to Nigeria. The membership of PETAM cuts across ex-Longouge, ex-Celebratory, ex-Baker Hughes, and what have you. Now, we are going into the next phase of our development with all the big rounds going on in very quick succession. The minister mentioned something. How do we want to prepare for the next generation? I think this is an area we need to look at, not just for Nigeria, but for the entire sub-region. How do we prepare in terms of human capacity for that next generation? The slum rangers, yes, they are slow at coming back, I mean, in the way they were before. But we now have the patterns. We must be deliberate about how we are going to raise the next generation. And I want to challenge us, you know, from the regulatory point of view, as well as from the commercial space. If we don't invest in our human capital, then our Nigerian content or local content drive will be just in vain. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Wilkins.
Hello. Yeah. Resources very important, and when I had the opportunity, there was one critical area I should have touched, which I just want to use the 1 minute given to touch, which is the Voltaire Basin of Ghana. So in our bid to ensure that we now have much activity upstream, the Voltaire Basin is the onshore part of Ghana. And so efforts are being multiplied to ensure that we really are able to get good quality data to be able to market the Voltaire Basin. And so GNPC is leading the charge on that. GNPC, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation. They are leading the charge on that. And with the Petroleum Commission itself, we are going beyond just relying on GNPC to entering into multi-client agreements with companies like TGS and the rest to ensure that we are able to bring, we are able to get quality data that will help us market our Voltaire Basin. But you see, Africa's energy future does not only rely on the resources, it goes beyond that. One of the most critical issues we have to look out for is the impact of regulation. And that is where all of us are coming in. How do we use regulation to ensure that we unlock the potential of our African hydrocarbon sector? And so this is where partnership is important. This is where improving regulation is important. Data quality is important. And then regional integration at the end of the day is very, very important. And I have said this at LOG last year when I was here in Abuja, and I want to repeat it. We can't encourage regional integration when our borders are stricter than, I will repeat it again and again and have an opportunity. I think that we need to do better than we are doing if we really want to have regional integration beyond our fiscal border. So you go into Ghana, you will see something like nationals coming in, you will see something like ECOWAS citizens, and then you will see other nationals. Now you go to airport, for example, in Abuja, you will see nationals and every other person is lumped together somewhere. And I asked the person, so if I am an ECOWAS citizen and I come to Nigeria, or let's say I'm an African and I come to Nigeria, we want to improve on regional integration, then it is disheartening if I have to come in as any other citizen without any priority. And I think that when we go out there, when we go to the Western world, we are all lapped up together. And then when we come here, we want to promote regional integration, we come and sit, give all the theoretical speeches, and then in practice, we don't really translate it beyond the conference rooms. I think that we have to take regional integration very, very
Thank you. I think based on what you have here, what you have said, there is no doubt that anybody that Africa has the most prolific energy sources. Because among all the 5 continents, I think the African continent is the only continent where you have all forms of energies. So either fossil energy, renewable energy, and so on. So this is a fact. So the issue is now how to make this energy useful to Africans and African communities. So I think one of the key points, as some have said it in this conference, is to invest in technology and invest also in human resources. Because these are the only things that can allow us to take these resources from where they are and make it profitable for our communities.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll just pick up from the President's overview that Africa remains the continent with the most potential and the least resource. And the global energy crisis reinforces and reiterates that until the least of us is taking care of us, the survival of the rest of us is threatened. And you can see that already. In fact, Africa only emits 2%, less than 4% in any case of greenhouse gas emissions, but has suffered the most when it comes to stranded capital and resources. And so in the dream, universal energy access remains the goal. And for that reason, we will continue to develop and explore our reserves while exploring sustainable ways of producing universal basic access for all of our people. In terms of global content, I'd just like to remind us the popular saying that if you want to reap a return in 10 years, plant trees. If you want to reap a return in 100 years, plant people. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would like to conclude by saying that as Africa, I think we are blessed so much with our various resources, and we have the capability of utilizing those resources if we promote partnerships amongst us and also come up with conducive legal and regulatory frameworks to support us to extract our resources and also to form those partnerships. So from a regulatory perspective, I'd like to emphasize that regulating is very key, but at the same time, the use of a carrot-stick approach is also appropriate to ensure that we get win-win solutions in every area that we are faced with. Thank you.
I'd like to conclude by saying about 3-4 years ago, hydrocarbons was a dirty word. Some of us used to have faces when people ask us what we do. So it's very encouraging now to see that the conversation has shifted into more exploration. And we've seen that result in Chevron signing agreements in Guinea-Bissau, Total Energies in Liberia, and also in Iran. So we have 125 billion barrels of proven oil reserves and around 600 TCF of proven gas reserves. So the message and the key is for us to get to that, to keep on drilling, keep on exploring, and hopefully keep on producing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the audience for your rapt attention. This has been very, very exciting.
Please remain seated for just a few more minutes. Chairman Petan, just sit down for 2 minutes. Chairman Petan, please come. We have a gift we want to give you for participating. Can I have these gifts real quick? Let's begin with a gift for CCE, Mrs. Eson Olusegun. Let's begin with that gift. That will be followed by the gift for Dr. Alfara C. Mohammed. I'm going to agree with you on that airport thing. Yeah? Get ready the one for... Alright, that is for Dr. Alfana C. And next, let's get ready for Dr. Amadu Hassan. Kani Joe will be next. Linda and Lubanga will follow. 4-day, we follow after that, real quick. Tabur will follow after 4-day. And then I'd like to call on His Excellency Walde Natangwe to please be on standby. He will come after Dr. Tabur. Just give us a second, Your Excellency. Just hold on at the stairs there. Just hold on there for a second, so that they will give the orders. Real quick, guys, let's speed this thing up. Let's speed this thing up. Let's speed this thing up. Let's speed it up. All right. Real quick, real quick. Let's go, JD. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Dr. Tabur now. Let's go. Thank you for moderating the panel so wonderfully as always. You do a stellar job all the time, sir. I'm called in this capacity. Please take a good photograph real quick. Can I call Dr. Halilu? Let's present to Dr. NCDNB real quick. I have one for him. He spoke at the beginning. Let's give him one real quick. The NCDNB. I want you to the ambassador here. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for understanding. So we're going to take a break after this picture. We're going to do a tour. The minister is already out there opening the exhibition tour and beginning the tour. He'll be joined by the President Chairman and others. We will then proceed to the tour of the exhibition and we'll proceed to launch thereafter. For launch, the delegate launch itself straight down through the back of the exhibition hall. For the Energy Club launch, it is the designing. We have to go on the right-hand side through the exhibition hall, walk all the way to the end past Ashford stand, take the left and go all the way up, okay? We'll be back.